Okay, I think let's get going. I'm sure people will join. Thank you. Nice. Thanks very much for joining. From China? Wow. Okay, so without further ado, thank you very much to our next in a series of webinars on how to get your products into stores. We're honored to have our esteemed panel of industry experts on the webinar with us today. We'll be sharing some insights on this topic. I'll be introducing them one at a time. The format of the webinar will be about half an hour of presentations, as each panelist will give you sort of 5 to 7 minute presentation with some tips and tricks and general thoughts on how you can get your products into stores, and then we'll have about a 15-minute Q&A. My name is Joshua Lowe. I'm with SA Fashion Week. You can see the dates on my backdrop. We are now building up to the event. We've got the actual fashion shows happening from the 20th to the 22nd of October at Mall of Africa, and tickets will be available on Quicket at the end of the month. And then the trade show itself will happen on the 23rd and 24th of October, also at the Mall of Africa. We have still some stands available. If you are interested, I will be putting the contact details of Hanley Bennett, who's handling all our registrations for that event. But we've got some exciting new things lined up. It was announced last week that we have two senior lecturers from the Paris School of Fashion who will be joining us at the event, and we'll be doing one-on-one workshops with each of the designers who are exhibiting. So it's really a great opportunity not only to meet with buyers, to showcase your brand, but also to really engage with industry experts in what you can do to make your range better and more sellable. Some general etiquette points. If you have any questions or comments that you want to pose, there is a Q&A box in the chat box at the bottom. We will save all the questions to the end of the webinar, but please do ask questions. It's a great opportunity. You've got the panelists here to pose whatever questions you would like. And that is it. So let's get straight into it. And I would like to introduce our first speaker, Hazel Pillay, who is the General Manager of Pick n Pay Clothing. Hazel has an MBA from UCT's Graduate School of Business. She specializes in developing clear retail propositions that are unique in order to create value for both internal and external stakeholders. She has developed strategies to help grow local, as well as creating future wear with Gavin Raja, which is an incubator for young South African designers. Welcome, Hazel. We look forward to hearing your presentation.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. And really a big thank you to SA Fashion Week for inviting me to talk about and help encourage designers to connect with retailers in order to get their products in stores. I would like to talk about the lens of future wear, as Josh opened up by saying that Pick n Pay works with Gavin Raja on an incubator called Future Wear. I thought this would be a really good opportunity for me to explain a little bit about what it is, and hopefully encourage some of you that are listening in to apply. So Josh, if you would be able to put up my presentation. So Future Wear started, our first year started in 2019. So far, we have put 5 young creatives through Future Wear. The great thing about Future Wear is that you don't really need to be a designer per se. We've had 2 artists that designed product that went into stores. We are just interested in young people or people with little experience that are wanting to develop a career in fashion, and they need mentorship along the way or opportunities along the way to be able to help build up their skills and competencies around this. The greatest output of the Future Wear program is really what benefit the actual designer gets. The opportunity is that you would get to be mentored by Gavin Raja, who many of you must know as one of the leading South African designers, and has worked with SA Fashion many times, and along with a lot of other organizations. The second part of it is that you get an opportunity to be mentored through working with a corporate. So your business skills would absolutely get a chance to improve, to understand that designing and creating new products also can be an income generating activity. And working with corporates, as most of you might enjoy or not enjoy or might fear, can be extremely daunting. There are other components like improving communication, understanding your market and customer better. All of those particular areas do get honed in. Next slide, please. I thought I could just take you through the trajectory of some of the work that had been done. Our first person to go through the program was Julia, and she started off, really, she's an artist, and she used to design swimwear on the side and got successfully chosen to participate with us. And her first range was the best-selling range in a collab that I'd ever seen. I'd been working with collaborating with designers since 2012. Well, we worked with Katakani, and we always do work with Gavin. That's just really something that we love, the association that Gavin brings into Pick n Pay. And that was our first year. Our second year, next slide. I just need the next slide, thank you. We picked another artist, her name was Zara. I think we moved a little bit too quickly, but we also worked with a designer from Durban called Sipo. And right now on your screen, you will be viewing this year's collection. One of the things that we wanted to encourage is working sustainably with a particular designer. Julia's ranges, for some reason, are really commercial, and the Pick n Pay customer enjoys the product that she puts together. And we've worked with her for the last 3 years as part of increasing sustainability and growth. And as of next year, she qualifies to become a mentor, where she will be mentoring other young designers. Up and coming in the month, we've got Matt Nolan, which I couldn't really show you the campaign because it's under wraps. And we still have another range with Gavin Raja. Thank you. Just moving to my last slide. So the whole point was for me to come on call to be able to help you to focus your applications and give you some tips on how to make sure that your engagements are a lot more successful. I think firstly, you need to understand the landscape and the audience. So all the retailers out there, obviously I'm coming to you from a retailer perspective. Every retailer has definitely different opportunities and how they engage. For example, we have Futurewear. There's some retailers that work with Lysol, some retailers that work directly with designers. Understand how the retailer works. Also pick a retailer or a program that you identify with. I think that's incredibly important because you have to find your philosophy aligned with a particular retailer or a brand, and decide what it is that you want to achieve. So if you want to get more knowledge around working in a bigger business or commercial product, or you just want access to a new market, make sure that you're clear on why you're doing this. Some of you are young and you just want your first chance. I get that. But the closer you can align your purpose to who you work with, the more successful the entire intervention will be. Secondly, communicating with corporates, your tone, your responsiveness, and being able to be on time for a meeting. If it's an online meeting, for it to be basically connectable, and ensuring that people can hear you, that you already know how to put up a presentation. It's very interesting. You must be thinking, how on earth am I coming on to talk about these things? But my engagement with young designers is that there's often not enough practice with working with larger corporates. Be ready to meet many people in corporates. There are lots of people engaged to make a single decision. It's more about aligning to make a commercial decision. So it can be very daunting. Designers have said that to me, but just understand it's also a practice for you to work in a different space and learn new communication skills. Under product, understand the positioning of a product. If you're working with Pick and Pay, we're a budget retailer. We sell to mass number of people. Hence, we will be looking for commerciality. We'll be looking for something that can be produced locally. And in doing so, working with the designer will possibly mean that you're going to have to make some trade-offs. Maybe instead of a 10-color print, it's a 3-color print. Maybe instead of a very complicated sleeve, it's a more simple sleeve. So all of those things are very important in relationship to the type of retailer that you're working with. So in closing, I am running out of time. All I can say to you is the first thing, have courage, be brave and apply. I've actually put up how you can apply for Future Wear. It closes at the end of September. I would love some of you to apply. If you are scared about doing prints, we will help you along the way. And thank you so much for offering me some time to talk about Future Wear and Pick and Pay. Thank you, Josh.
Excellent. Thanks, Hazel. That was great, very informative, and I think a really nice opportunity for any designers who are on the call who see this. We'll go straight on to our next speaker, Amanda Rick, who is the head buyer for Zando. With over 20 years experience in the fashion industry, Amanda started her buying career in the UK, working for big department stores such as House of Fraser and TK Maxx. In the 2 years before moving back to SA, she changed her path to start a licensed intimates collection for Lipsy Clothing and Help for Heroes charity. Once arriving back in SA in 2011, she joined Zando and to this day is the longest employer for Jumia. She has built the brand portfolio working with local and international brands throughout the 11 years, being an integral part of e-commerce market growth in SA. Thank you so much, Amanda. I'm going to hand over to you now. Shame, I know that she's struggling with load shedding, as I'm sure many of you are today. But
you will be all right.
Good luck and thanks so much.
Thanks for the introduction, Josh. Nice to have you all on the call today. What I'm going to talk to you about is how to come onto the market, how to get your products in front of the retailers, trade shows, and give you a bit of insight around this side of the business. So first things first is to know where your product sits in the market. So you need to know where you're positioning yourself, pricing wise, brand level wise. This will help to give you a clear focus of your products going forward. So you need to know your USPs when launching to the market as well. Hazel went and mentioned it now. You need to know if you're going to be sustainable. Can you stick to being sustainable? If it's made in SA, which is a very big pulling card at the moment, especially since COVID, a lot of people have become very, very focused on local production. Stick to that. And on the print side, if that is your USP and you're designing your prints, that is going to make you the hottest in the market and what you stand for. So it's very important to know these things before you even come and speak to a retailer or come onto a trade show. This will then help you know which retailers to go to. So when you know what pricing and what brands you can associate yourself with, will make you understand which trade shows to go to and what retailers to go to approach as well. This is a great way to get your product out there and to get another way of finding out whether it is working for the market. So you've got your friends and family out there telling they love your product and it's absolutely amazing, but I give you very big advice to ask others that aren't in your immediate circle to get true advice on if the pricing's right, fit is right, and quality is right. This will be all very important for you being selected by a retailer or on e-commerce sites. When you are presenting, when you come present to us at Zando or at your trade show, make sure it's you presenting. Don't send your aunt or your sister or someone else. Make sure you're there presenting. You're the only one that will get that passion through to be able to answer all those nitty-gritty questions that we do go into detail, trying to understand how your product's made, where the fabrics are coming from, where you position yourself. No one else can do that other than you in the right way. It's always very good when you are presenting is to have an online presence already. So whether it's an Instagram page or TikTok or a website, it's very important to have that, because once you've presented and you've given out a business card or a URL code, people will go look for you. So it's very important to have that already existing. When you are seeing people, don't be pressurized in changing too much of your range. Stick to your USPs. So if someone's trying to get you to drop your pricing too much and you're staying with a platform such as launching your brand in a store or on a Xander website, make sure you stick to what you believe in, because once those details are taken out as a brand, you're going to lose all passion for that brand because it's not what you started with. One thing I do recommend as well, when you're coming to launch your brand, bring samples. For the trade show, obviously, to see buyers as well. Make sure the fit is accurate. Make sure the quality is accurate. Make sure what you're showing to your audience is what you would put online or in stores. I definitely recommend knowing how many styles you'll be able to take. So I wouldn't say less than 80, because if you're saying multiple retailers, each retailer would go for a bit of a different angle of what campaign or range they would like to put together. It's also very good to know what else will be done in production. So you do your one launch, but you don't want to be a one-hit wonder. So you want to be able to say what your vision is for your next ranges coming in. And what we're experiencing at Xander is that newness is the best. Everyone is looking for newness the whole time. So very much have that plan of your first launch, but where do you go from there? Pricing is so important to know. Know your margins, understand margin. It's very important to know these nitty-gritty questions that will be asked in these meetings that you have with the retailers. Make sure that you can answer the questions and listen to guidance. I don't say that you shouldn't listen to guidance, but listen to guidance and learn from the retailers of what they're saying. Don't get put off. You could always come back. It's kind of like South Africa's Got Talent. Like, come back and develop your range and see how you can get it to where that retailer would like it to be. But that is it for me. I hope I have given you some guidance on bringing your range into the South African market.
Yeah, I did realize in hindsight that I put an incredibly tight time pressure on these poor presenters, but they've, I think, covered already a huge amount of very, very valuable content. So thank you, Amanda. I think that's very useful. And I mean, coming from a trade fair background myself, you know, I think a lot of the tips and tricks that you've given to people, if they are going to participate in a trade show, are incredibly important, especially the one about having to be there in person and understanding your audience and doing that background research in terms of getting actual value from the events. So thank you very much. And now we'll move on to our next guest speaker, Mikhail Hannon. Mikhail is the founder, CEO, and creative director of Fields, a contemporary menswear brand. On completing his MBA, he spent 5 years as co-founder and COO of Superbalist.com, a subsidiary of Takealot.com. In 2020, he joined ARC as employee number 2, entrusted with creating and building the brand and digital offering. Mikhail, thanks for joining us. I'm going to hand over to you. I believe you've got a few slides to present on.
Great.
And good luck.
Thank you. I think we're up. Is that good, Josh?
Yeah, perfect. See it?
Yeah, great. Thanks. Okay, hi everyone. I think I'm going to build on what Amanda said quite nicely. I think it kind of set me up, which is quite cool. I think the question I'm going to pose to you is also, are you ready to go to the likes of an Amanda? And I think you need to kind of assess that, because I think the worst case you want to do is you want to get there and then you want to fall on your face. So some kind of questions, and I'll run through it. First and foremost, I think you need to be able to know that you're building a sustainable business. Retailers want you to be there tomorrow. So if you just got a one-hit wonder, you're not going to be of value to them, because they want to build you up, and you need to be able to show up year after year or collection after collection. When I speak about a sustainable business, I see two parts. The one part in the top of this picture is about your business. So understand the nuts and bolts, which some of the speakers have already touched on. Like, what is your business model? If you want to be on a Zando or in a retailer, you have to have a wholesale business model. If you're direct to consumer, and you don't have the margin, you're going to fall on your face, because Amanda won't compromise on her margin. You'll have to compromise unless you're the next best thing. Yes, you might think you are, but you're probably not. You're probably a regular kind of brand, but you need to have that margin. So don't proceed unless you've got that right model. Linked to that, think about your cash and cash flow. Again, you need to be here for the long term. Don't just think about 1 year, think about 2 or 3 years. So I think my point is, get this in place. If you don't have it in place, find someone who can mentor you or you can partner with to have that. That's on the business side, to be kind of sustainable. On the product side, think about how you're going to be developing your product season after season, and also your source of supply. Now that you maybe made a few samples, can you up that? Can you kind of have CMTs or factories or partners that you're working with that are going to be here in 2 or 3 years' time? Make sure that you have that in place as you kind of go down this path. On the second thing, I think that we need to kind of consider 3 elements to kind of work together as you approach a retailer, both local and international. First and foremost, your product. You've designed these products, so you come up with this product, and it's at the right margin for the industry. If you're doing fragrances, it's different to apparel or different to footwear across different sectors. Or if you are luxury designer or at that affordable price point, there's different margins. So make sure you price correctly. So getting your product and margin right, if you've got that kind of tick, then the next big thing, don't underestimate the relationships. The likes of the bigger retailers get many applications like month after month or week after week, but how they're going to look at you is also what could help is if you have the relationship, if you're seeing people, if you know people. And these relationships will certainly help you to kind of be put in the right circles and in the right space. Linked to that is also on the production side. I think we do have a challenge in production in South Africa. The big retailers dominate the CMT houses. So for you as a kind of designer to be in there, it's your relationship that will maintain it over time. And an element which is often overlooked is operational excellence. You've got this great design, you've got these relationships. Now, can you deliver on time? Because when it comes to the bigger suppliers, they care about their budget and they measure on their budget and they sell through and they put in market time. So you must be able to deliver at that window that you said, and also in the amount that you said. If Amanda orders 100 units from you, don't give her 50. She'll be super pissed off because then she's got to fill that order with something else from somewhere else, and you kind of put her in a bad spot, and it doesn't leave you for good momentum in the future. So don't underestimate the importance of operational excellence. Then the last element I really want to cover is around timelines. I think we're in this world right now where we want everything to happen now, and we don't have the patience to wait. And I think that you need to be very careful with when you approach a retailer and at what size and at what time in your development. So if I think about kind of our journey at Fields, and what I would advise to designers is, that first year is around birth. You're creating your brand, you're creating your samples, your first products. You understanding a little bit about your manufacturing process, how your team works. You understanding a bit about the cash and the margins. Just take that time. When you're in this phase, I strongly recommend keep your day job. Do this in the evening. Do this on the side. I mean, unless you've got a trust fund funding you, but just do this while you've got some other income, because otherwise you'll lose your cash too quickly. In year 2, you've now made your first samples and you're selling to friends and family. You're getting a bit of feedback. I would seriously encourage you to consider direct to retail first. Direct to customer. How can you get your product in front of customers where you can hear their feedback? Is that a market? Is that opening up a space in your house or in your studio where you might work from? That kind of feedback loop is really helpful for you to kind of make improvements. And to touch on some of the points that Amanda said, like fit. It might fit on your body, but can it fit on more customers' bodies? That direct interaction with customers, you'll be able to see that. Online store, Shopify is cheap. Something similar like that. Have an online store. Customers want to see you. Brands want to see you. You need to exist in a world. Just don't waste money on it. Keep it cheap. And importantly, this stage will allow you to have that feedback and product iteration. Kind of year 2, 3, Now you're looking, I believe, into kind of marketplaces. So what do you need for those kind of spaces? Lookbook, line sheet. These are the kind of things that Amanda will ask for. So do you have a lookbook where you can showcase your catalog, where you can give a sense of the brand? Line book, all the items that you may be selling and prices. Importantly, you cover also the markup and the margins that the retailer has. And then the line sheet in terms of how to order and the lead times there. Marketplaces are the low-hanging fruits because risk is off for them and it's all the risk is for you. So the local edit or plain tiger or egg, find places that align to where your brand should be in terms of your market position, and then kind of get yourself in there. And their sales are slow. Have low expectations. It's super slow. Finally, on this point, I would say also consider growing your DTC, kind of your own kind of presence. Again, the big plus there is that your margin is strong, and then you can explore the local boutiques. And why I say local is because then you can get to the boutiques, you can go and engage with them, see them, you can pick up issues that might come up and you can respond. If you're shipping items, it ships and it goes. You won't see that retailer. And also at this stage, you probably gain a little bit of momentum. It's okay to say no to certain retailers if they want you in their space, or you need to learn to say no. Don't say yes to everyone. Finally, now you're gaining more momentum. Perhaps you're going to shows kind of in year 4+. So I would encourage you to maintain your direct business. Your product development and supply chain is fully in place. Now you're speaking to the likes of an Amanda. So just be very careful with companies' terms, corporate terms, because they can really hurt you. For example, if you're exporting, who's paying for shipping, who's paying for duties? If a company places a big order and your sell-through is only 20% after 6 months, are they going to return that item to you? Because if they can, this kind of like technical terms can break you. So just make sure that you go through the terms, and if you want, just walk away, find someone to help you, and then return with the detail. Cool. So kind of in summary, you've got your great product at the right margin, and you've managed to balance that operational excellence with your relationships, have patience, monitor your cash, and then with a bit of luck, you might win.
Excellent. Thanks, Mikhail. That was very thorough and very, very informative. I've seen there's been a lot of positive comments already coming in for all of the panelists so far. So it's been great. Thank you so much for that contribution. I'm just making a note of all the questions as they come in, which again, I'll pose to each of you after we've finished. And we'll get on to our final speaker for today, Kiba Bam. Kiba Bam is known as the authority of retail on her YouTube channel, also heads up the design incubation program at TFG Design Center. She has 15 years experience in the retail and supply chain industry. 8 of those were spent as a retail buyer with Woolworths, Edcon, and Clicks. She has also worked with over 250 suppliers, finding them access to the retail market in South Africa and the SADC region. Her passion is in education and sharing knowledge with suppliers and entrepreneurs that can instantly assist their business to grow. Thank you, Kiba. Over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Josh, for that intro. Hi, everyone. Thank you to SA Fashion Week for inviting me on this panel. I think I'm jumping on to Michaela's presentation, where it sets me up also quite nicely, because what I really want to talk about is the importance of compliancy as a business before you even approach a retailer, and how to set yourself up when you already have a track record, because it's quite important for you to show the retailer that firstly, you've got a market and you have proven that your product has got a customer. So I think just to share a little bit, me working with over 200 suppliers from the SADC region, which includes Malawi, Mozambique, Zambia, and South Africa, and a few more others, the recurring theme was compliancy. So it's quite important for you to firstly have a business bank account, have registered your business with CIPC first, and then open a business bank account. And, obviously you're having this track record, and then you wanting to approach a retailer, do you have the compliance certificates to be able to do this? There are many ways to skin the cat, but more often than not, when you do sit in front of a retailer, which I've worked with a lot of food retailers and I've worked a lot with clothing retailers, the most important compliance, audits you need to have those quite upfront to present to a Amanda or someone in Hazel's team. So if, let's say, for example, you've also set up yourself a CMT, which is a small manufacturing plant, are you part of the bargaining council? Have you done your factory audits? Are people in your factory working under, conducive environments? Also, do you have the capacity? Are you producing enough capacity from your factory that is able to maintain the orders from retail? So just to take a step back, COVID has shown us that retailers are now really looking close to home when it comes to suppliers. So if there's any time right now for entrepreneurs who are in the fashion space, it's right now. I know Hazel and Mikhail also made quite an important point, is you have to decide who you want to be in the space. And a lot of the times, I think designers and fashion designers come into the space and hoping to get into retail. They don't really understand what they're getting themselves into in terms of commerciability when it comes to your product. Because when you are a designer or haute couture designer, you're designing for one person. But when you're designing for a retailer, you're designing for an Alison, a Kiba, a Bianca, who's walking in South Africa looking, for something to wear every day. It's mass market. So just to say, COVID has shown us different ways of working, and retailers right now are really looking for suppliers within the South African regions in South Africa who can supply their supply chains. So, it's quite important to understand that from a commitment point of view, okay? Then when it comes to entrepreneurs and, being ready to be in the market, having these compliance certificates is also quite a financial commitment. So for example, if you're going to get an ISO certificate, that certificate, ranges from anything from 200K to 500K, which brings you back to the question, who do you want to be in retail? And if I was a designer right now and I wanted to go into retail, I would really, try to take myself into the market on quite like a meaningful or big scale. It's beautiful to start small, but if you have the time to take your time and not rush into going into partnerships with retail, who you go out there and you find out what are the opportunities available to you as a designer that could set you up. Which brings me to my next point, is that I head up the incubation program, the design incubation program for TFG. I am at the moment working with 4 designers who've joined the program. How we select our designers, you don't really have to ever have produced something, but you would need to have a qualification, whether in the clothing fraternity or in design. Where you will join our program. It's for a 6-month period where we will give you access to market. So you would, so for example, my guys came for week 1 and we had a whole tour. We went to a few CMTs around South Africa just to show them, the commitment and what it looks like when you do have a CMT. Also took them to printing houses so that they can understand the process of printing and how to cost that within their ranges. At the end of the program, I just want to add before I say that, I've been in a few incubation programs, and one of the highlights of the programs that I've been on is that I join these programs and I walk away with no access to market. So when I got the opportunity to head up an incubation program, I wanted to set something up that will give access to market to these entrepreneurs. So at the end of the 6 months, the capsule that they design would be put in front of actual buyers. So I would then, I help them throughout the process for them, to put together a capsule where, it includes all the points that Amanda and Hazel and Mikhail have pointed out, that are you costing correctly? Where are you sourcing your fabrication? Are you sustainable? Have you incorporated that into your range? Whether you're working with a sustainable factory, or you considering how are you printing, your prints on your t-shirts or on your dresses or on your jackets. So at the end of the program, we will then sit in a capsule, in an actual range capsule. We will present in front of design key account managers at Foschini, and they will have the opportunity to select items from those ranges that they actually want to put into stores. If they do not get that opportunity, we've also started a platform at TFG called Bash. This platform assists entrepreneurs to sell their items on the platform. So yeah, those are the opportunities that are out there, and I think are very vital, for entrepreneurs such as yourself, because a lot is my time up. Oh no,
I'm just turning my camera on. No pressure.
Oh, okay. So, a lot of the times I meet these young entrepreneurs who are extremely passionate, but they lack a sense of management. So we also expose them to those opportunities to be able to manage a business, to be able to not only manage your business, but to also manage yourself and your team. And you think that it is a joke when I think it was Hazel was saying that, your tone on emails is important. How quick do you respond to your emails? How do you put together your presentations? What does your proposal look like? Is your proposal retail ready? Is it retail specific? So what I mean by that is your proposal showing that you are able to work with a retailer? Have you showed them your track record? Have you spoken about your turnover, your turnaround time? How quick can you get your items into the DC? How many people are on your team? Do you have in-house capability? Do you have a design team? Do you have a printing opportunity in your factory, etc.? So, those small things go a very long way when you are talking to a retailer. I was actually in a meeting with one entrepreneur that was supposed to be on Teams, and it took him 1 hour, 20 minutes to get on Teams, which immediately says, imagine if you were meeting the MD or the CEO of Foschini, you would have lost that business. So the small things are really, really important also. So I think that is my 5 minutes.
Great. Thanks, Kiba. That was great. Excellent. Well, all the panelists have spoken. I see there's been lots and lots of questions coming in. If I could welcome the other panelists to turn the cameras on, and we'll just set a bit of a Q&A session. I've put some questions down myself, but I'll just go straight to Kiba on the first one, because I see that quite a few people asking around how do people go about applying for the incubation program? Is there can they go to the website? How? You're on mute.
For the incubation program, the next take on is going to be 2023 in February. If you can please drop me an email. My email address is KI, B for banana, A for apple, capital B, @tfg.co.za. So just send me, your CV or your portfolio. Let it be as detailed as possible. Tell me about who you are, what you've studied, what you're hoping to achieve. Do you have a range, yes or no, your experiences? Tell me, a bit about yourself, and then we'll definitely be in contact.
Great, thank you. That's excellent. The other question that came in was just around the qualifications, because you mentioned the need to have a qualification. Someone's just asking, is it a specific type of qualification, or?
Well, I mean, if you have like one of the guys, he has a marketing, I think, diploma, if I'm not mistaken, or degree or whatever, but he designs menswear suiting. He just has a real love for design and an obvious flair for it. And also, I just want to add, there's no age cap. So if you are 40, please go ahead and apply. If you are 21, go ahead and apply. So, just if you have a diploma in something, then we'd be able to onboard you. But if you have, obviously, if you have a qualification in HR and you have no ability to draw your own technical drawings, you are going to struggle a little bit, because the technical part of fashion is quite important for this particular program.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I suppose then I'm just looking at the questions that have come in. Michaela, I know you touched on it in terms of the process that people should start with, in terms of maybe engaging with the consumer market directly initially to see the interest in their brands, and then maybe over a longer term preparing to engage with retailers. Someone's just asking whether it's recommendable, or what the approach would be or the advice would be from the panel in terms of, you know, doing both, selling directly to customers and wholesale. You know, would you suggest that people focus on doing one or the other, or you know, that's one of the questions that come in.
I think if you can do both, do both. I think my point with the direct is you get feedback immediately, because at the beginning you need to understand, like, around fit, around fabrication, what annoys customers. So, you know, I think with the bigger retailers, I mean, the other guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but the feedback loop won't be so, it'll be maybe every 3 or 4 months. But with customers, you know, every day you can, or every week you'll be able to meet and engage with them. You know, maybe if you start off and you're selling even in a market, for example, like, do that. You can learn and engage with customers and then understand your product and get that feedback. And I think it'll help you to improve it. I guess my point is, make small mistakes before you make a big mistake. You don't want to get an order from one of these guys around the table here for 200 units, and then you realize that your cloth is breaking because they didn't pass the strength test. They're going to then return it to you, and you're going to have to kind of give them back their money, and you've already spent that money on new development, and then you go to the bank and then you're in trouble. So make small mistakes as opposed to big mistakes, and also take the margin.
Well, that's another question that came in while you were speaking, just in terms of, because you spoke a lot around margin, but is there a typical kind of margin that's sort of acceptable or generally followed in South Africa?
I think the speaker last week also touched on it. You know, if you've got these core products, you're around the 40% mark. If you're in the designer, you kind of getting to that 60 to 65%. And then if you're in kind of fashion high, and you're going to go to that 75 plus. But that's kind of apparel. I mean, I think that you've got to be aware of what footwear is, what fragrance is. It's different. I mean, you know, the people around the table might also say that their input margin is at a certain level. Like, Amanda might not talk to you if you say 20%. She'll be like, sorry, go away. But if you say to her, hi, I've got like kind of 45% for you, be like, oh, okay, now let's talk.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just good just to have a starting point.
And depends what else the brand can bring. So it might not be in the margin. It could be through marketing, it could be through joint partnerships. Everything is up for discussion. Margin is a big thing, but there are other avenues one could go down in not just looking at a margin side.
Cool. Okay, Kristen, I made a note of as you guys were all talking. I mean, are there sort of 2 to 3 things that really sort of bug you guys in terms of designers approaching you, or common mistakes that designers normally make when they think about it, sort of trying to engage with potential retailers? I suppose I'll put that towards Hazel and Amanda and even Kiba.
I think for me, the most basic one that people think, you know, is not important. I think, you know, if you don't have the patience to be well, you know, researched and understand what you're actually getting yourself into, you're going to run into a lot of trouble. And I think the one thing for me that is a recurring theme is the, you know, professionalism. And besides being prepared, like, professionalism goes a long way. It just speaks volumes if your presentations looks a certain way and it's well researched and you understand what you're talking about. You know, for example, if you're talking about input margins, as that's like the recurring question, you need to understand what does that actually entail, what does it include, so that you don't shoot yourself into the foot. The basic business elements are very important, because a lot of designers are visionaries, but they don't have the business acumen.
That's a very good point, Kiba. Very good. Because what I get is a lot of designers with beautiful product, but then they can't actually deliver. they can't deliver on a production site, they miss delivery dates. And that's a very big point, is knowing not just that beautiful product, because you love that style, but how are you going to get that mileage out of it? How are people going to get to it? Can you actually produce that product and bring it to that retailer?
I'm not sure if you want me to add, Josh, but I do have. I think Kiba spoke quite a bit about professionalism, and I would link levels of communication. Understand your audience. You talk about two very, very different worlds, and I don't come from a designer world, or I don't come from a very entrepreneurial world. I come from a corporate world. So you merging two oppositions in terms of business modeling. And I think, some of what Mikhail was talking about on relationships and the process, and just as Kiva also said, research, as I would say, know your audience, plan, prepare, probably rehearse some of the things that you may want to say, because how you come across on the first take is incredibly critical. There are so many people trying to get in, and I think how you position yourself in your first connection is what's going to separate you and what's going to make a retailer or some other organization like an incubation program want to continue to work with you. And be invested. I've actually connected with people. It's why I said to you, decide what you stand for, what's your purpose, and why you want to align. Sometimes I think people just obviously go wide and hope for something to pick up and some hook to come along. But understanding why you want to collaborate with someone will narrow down who you are planning or hoping to work with, and then enable you to be more focused and better with your approach and your application.
I'd like to ask a follow-up question to that, Hazel, because I know a lot of you spoke about doing your research and understanding the market. Are there particularly good places for designers to go if they want to do that research in terms of finding that information? Because I'd imagine it's probably quite daunting for a lot of designers to know where to start.
So look, I'm going to talk from a retailer perspective who doesn't stock actual designer brands, but rather collaboration. I think there are few retailers that work on collabs. Pricing, handwriting, commerciality, the very best way to do that is to go into stores, number one. Look at the types of merchandise, look at the products that they offer, and understand which type of product would I want to go and present about, what aligns with my design skills. Look at the levels of quality, understand if you are collaborating and it's going to be a budget retailer, the level of fabric might be very far from what you're doing right now. So again, I talk about the trade-offs. What trade-offs are you willing to make that will still be holding the philosophy and the purpose of your brand? But the first thing is go to stores, go to where the action really happens, because that's any case where your product is going to end up if it isn't online.
Yes. So a bit of a scenario one here, you're visiting a trade show, you approach a stand, you want to engage with them. I know it follows on with the question that you just answered. What would you expect them to have there ready in order to engage with you in terms of, display of stock? I know Amanda spoke about obviously being present there yourselves. I mean, that's one of the things I've seen over the years that exhibitors get wrong, is that they send in people to represent them. They're not there, they're not engaged. You've all spoken around communication, which is key, understanding the audience that's going to be coming. Are there any other tidbits of information or advice you would give?
Nothing more than I think we've covered. Have a price list, have a catalog, have something for someone to take away so that they remember you. Remember, they're seeing a lot of brands in one go. Make sure you've got something like a business card or something cool and trendy, or something out of the box, something that they'll remember you by. because there's a lot of retailers and a lot of designers and brands on the market approaching us constantly. And we've got over 600 brands on Zando currently. So it's to be stood out, have a model there, maybe wearing one of the styles, but that model needs to be fit for your brand as well. Don't get a friend to do it or your auntie again to do it. Make sure it fits your brand that you want to be selling to the retailer.
And then just to add to that, Josh, I think so, agree with everything Amanda said, but just know that trade fairs, you get a lot of like people coming through. So, you know, your lookbooks that you might print or things that are beautiful, like hold those back for the real discussion with the likes of Amanda, but then any random can have your business card, because you'll get like spies, you'll get copycats, and you'll get people there just for the freebies. So they will troll and take any free bag that they can. You don't want to give them a bag if you're making bags, for example. So keep the bag for the special people.
I think I just wanted to add what I'd like to do before I even go to a trade show. Like, for example, there's one big retail kind of show that happens in Joburg. I just forgot their name, but just, you know, contact the event organizer and ask them, you know, who will be present. Introduce yourself, find out who's going to be there. See if they can introduce you, you know, to the specific person that you want to meet. Be very strategic about your time, because, you know, that's all we have. And if you waste your time and you go for the sake of going, then it's just another event that you went to. But if you strategically ask the right questions, you could have meaningful networking sessions. Yeah.
Great. Apologies. I think I just fell victim to a switch over and load shedding, so I dropped off for a couple of minutes. So I missed some of that. But it sounds as I can see from the comment section that you've answered those questions in great detail. There's obviously been a lot of stuff that's coming in, but I think we should really move to sort of wrap up now. And so I just want to use this opportunity to thank the panelists again. I've certainly found it very interesting and intriguing, and we've had lots of positive comments. This video will be available on YouTube after the event. And if you do have any other questions you would like to pose to the panelists, you can email Hanali Bennett. The lady's details I did post earlier. I sent her email address, and we'll try and sort of direct them to the relevant people on this call. So thank you, everyone. Mikhail, Hazel, Amanda, Kiba. It's been a very interesting session. Again, I'm seeing lots of positive comments coming in on the chat function, and we look forward to engaging with you guys soon. Wishing you a great week further and all the best.
Thanks, Josh.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.